Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're heading deep into the high-altitude silence of the South American peaks to investigate what might just be the most compelling evidence of ancient high-tech ever discovered. We're leaving the rumors completely behind and looking strictly at the stone-cold data behind a potentially world-changing archaeological mystery.
Picture this. You're standing up in the thin, freezing air of the Andes, surrounded by absolute, utter silence. And then, suddenly, that silence is shattered by a sound so intense that local legends have historically described it as the mountains literally screaming. For centuries, these massive monoliths and the visceral phenomena surrounding them were entirely dismissed as mere folklore, just wild tales told to frighten travelers. But that perspective dramatically shifted the moment modern investigators showed up with scientific equipment.
So we're going to treat this whole scenario like an active, modern-day investigation. We really have to ask ourselves, what if this folklore isn't fiction at all? What if it's actually a forgotten technological blueprint? Could these so-called singing stones actually be a critical piece of an ancient jigsaw puzzle that completely defies everything we think we know about primitive technology?
Section 1, Anomalous Signals and Structures. Okay, let's leave the campfire stories behind and jump straight into the on-the-ground reports from the archaeologists exploring these anomalous areas.
Our investigation really picks up when researchers on the ground began detecting strange radio frequency signals emanating directly from these giant structures. These stones aren't just sitting there inertly, they are actively energizing the environment around them. This prompted the teams to break out the advanced tools. They brought in infrared scanning devices and collected high-resolution LiDAR data. Essentially, they're using lasers to literally peek inside the rock and see what's happening right beneath the surface.
Now look at the stark contrast here between what everyone assumed on the one hand and what the data actually proves on the other. LiDAR scans reveal these absolutely aren't just solid boulders. No way. Instead, the scans show that they contain what appears to be machined, molded, or pressed internal components. We're talking about highly engineered interiors hiding inside what look like totally natural mountain rocks.
Part 2. The Meissner Effect Mystery. Let's look at the physical evidence and see how this builds into a mind-blowing twist regarding the actual materials found at the site.
So archaeologists recovered some materials near the base of the monoliths that, honestly, at first glance, just suggest a rather normal ceramic composition. Nothing too out of the ordinary for ancient ruins, right? But the investigators decided to run some advanced diagnostics. They hit these ceramic samples with liquid nitrogen in a lab, and, well, they exhibited something absolutely extraordinary. They began magnetically hovering. Yeah, hovering.
Which brings us to the absolutely crucial question. How on earth could ancient ceramic samples literally hover over magnets? I mean, this isn't magic, it's physics. But it's physics that supposedly didn't even exist when these stones were placed in the Andes. This brilliantly illustrates what physicists call the Meissner effect. It's basically the expulsion of a magnetic field from a superconductor, which is what allows it to levitate. Think of a modern maglev train, but made from ancient pottery. Seeing this effect in our samples suggests we aren't just looking at primitive rocks or simple ceramics. We're looking at seriously cutting-edge materials.
Specifically, we're talking about superconductors. These are materials that possess the amazing ability to conduct energy without any resistance whatsoever. Finding materials engineered to have this capability in an ancient, high-altitude context? That's a profound anomaly. It's a mystery within a mystery that forces us to completely rethink the technological capabilities of whoever built this site.
Moving right along to Section 3, Hidden Underground Tunnels. Let's pull the camera back for a second and look at the broader structural context hidden beneath the surface. The stones above ground are really only half the story.
Using advanced ground-penetrating radar, investigators mapped out the subterranean landscape. They discovered a highly complex network of man-made stone tunnels and massive voids located directly below these rocks. But here's the real kicker. The layout of these tunnels and voids aligns perfectly with the anomalous sound points, the exact spots where the mountains are said to be screaming.
This implies an astonishing level of engineering. It suggests the builders actually used acoustic sensors to map out and construct a structure that's completely invisible to the naked eye. As the experts reviewing this data point out, that's a capability we barely possess today, let alone thousands of years ago.
Which brings us to Section 4, Ancient Energy Grid Theories. This overwhelming mountain of data leads us directly to the grand hypothesis currently being formulated by experts who are desperately trying to make sense of these findings.
Looking at the data impartially, a team, including retired military officers and aviation consultants, are bringing some serious theories to the table. They're now asking if these stones were maybe part of an ancient secret weapon system, perhaps a localized defensive array, or, alternatively, could they be a transmedium communication array designed for sending highly advanced signals straight from the ground up into space?
The energy signals that these stones are actively pulsing into the atmosphere are so complex and intriguing that those aviation consultants actually suggest we might need to literally place a specialized satellite in orbit just to track them and figure out where the signals are pointing.
Looking at all this evidence, it leaves investigators with a deadly calm realization. We might be standing right on top of an adversarial secret left behind by a civilization we simply don't understand yet. It represents what researchers call one great failure in our current historical understanding. If we can solve this case, we literally have to rewrite the history books. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a massive question to think about. Looking at the strange frequencies, the superconducting ceramics, and the subterranean acoustic tunnels, are these stones simply a bizarre, completely misunderstood natural phenomenon? Or have we just uncovered an absolute Bobby Dazzler of a top-secret ancient energy grid? What do you think is really hiding inside the singing stones?